What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. There is a merchant in Mortal Shell 2 that most players will finish the whole game without ever meeting. He only exists at night. He is tucked away at a beacon you have probably never cleansed, and his entire stock is stuff you cannot buy anywhere else in the game. 4 of them are ability stones that change how you fight. 1 is a key that unlocks character skins. 1 is a material your weapon upgrades are crying out for. And 1 awakens a shell's true purpose. I am going to show you exactly where he is and then walk through every single thing sitting on his table. And a heads up before we go, his stock is limited. He carries exactly 1 of most of these, so you cannot come back later and buy another. Quick recap first, because none of this exists in daylight. To turn the night on, you need an item called the Gloombound Flame, and you pick that up out at the Widow's Overlook Beacon. Carry it back to Marrow Keep and find a man called Thestis standing up on the raised platform. Hand him the flame and he offers to call the night for you. Say yes and the entire world changes around you. I have a full video on that if you want the detailed walkthrough. But that is the gate. No flame means no night, and no night means no vendor. One more thing worth knowing about Thestis, that toggle works both ways. When you're done out here, you go back to him and he calls the day again, so there is no risk at all in switching over. With the night up, you are heading for a beacon called the Abandoned Outpost. If you have never been out there, it will not be sitting on your map yet, so you are walking this one out in the dark. You will start seeing tall blue beams of light standing straight up out of the ground. Those are your landmarks at night, so use them to steer by. Keep pushing until the game stops you with a banner reading Beacon Found, Abandoned Outpost. That is the one you want. Cleanse it while you're stood there so you can fast travel straight back in future. And cleanse it properly while you are there. Until you do, you have no checkpoint anywhere near him. The walk back out in the dark is genuinely dangerous if something goes wrong. From that beacon, carry on into the outpost itself. There's a note on the ground on the way in that is worth stopping for. It is the same line the game keeps using to hint at all of this. By the light of day, the truth remains sealed, and yet in the darkness all shall be revealed. Push on past it and you will find a figure sitting at a table lit up with candles. He is called the Collector and the game labels him simply as a merchant. Walk up to him and open trade. He does not announce himself and there is no marker for him on your map. So if you have run past this outpost in daylight and seen nothing at all, that is exactly why. He is simply not there when the sun is up. Before we go through the list, one thing that makes all of this click, 4 of the things on his table are ability Tarstones. Tarstones come in 4 categories in this game. Those are support and combat and infusions and abilities. That matters because they do not compete with each other. An ability stone slots into its own place, so buying 1 of these costs you nothing off your support or combat setup, and they level the same way everything else does. Fight with 1 equipped and its experience bar fills on its own. Once it is full, you temper it at the Tarforge and it steps up a tier. So these are not one-off purchases, they grow with you. First up is the Fulminant stone. And this one is an ability for your sidearm. It costs you 60 resolve to fire a heavy caliber round, and that round sets off multiple explosions all around whatever you hit. At the first tier, you are getting 3 explosions out of 1 single shot. Level it up, and that goes to 5. And at the top tier, each of those explosions deals 20 break damage on its own. Think about what that actually means against something big. 1 trigger pull is stacking break damage from 5 separate hits, which cracks them open for a riposte extremely fast. Next is the Infested stone. And this is my favorite thing on the whole table. It also costs 60 resolve. What it fires is a clinging projectile that sticks to whatever it hits and then detonates after a short delay. At the first tier, that explosion does 100 damage. The second tier is the clever one, though. Whatever you stuck it to starts drawing the aggression of every enemy nearby. So you are tagging 1 target and pulling the whole room onto it. And at the top tier, it scatters 3 more clinging projectiles when it finally goes off. That aggression pull is the part I would pay for on its own. Almost every death in this game comes from being surrounded. This lets you tag 1 enemy and make the entire room walk to him instead of walking to you. Third along is the Weeping Stone, and this one is far cheaper to actually use. 20 resolve infuses your sidearm with trauma. That is an infusion rather than a single shot, so it stays on the gun while you fight. At the first tier, the infusion lasts you 4 shots. I'll level it, and that doubles up to 8. If you watched my upgrade guide, you already know the sidearm is the most underused thing a new player owns. This is the stone that turns it into a real damage option instead of an emergency button. And because it is an infusion rather than a one-off shot, it changes how you plan a fight. You put it on before you engage. Instead of panicking halfway through, 20 resolve is cheap enough that you just do it every time. Fourth is the Infused stone. And this one works on your melee weapon instead of the gun. 70 resolve throws your weapon out to strike multiple targets before it circles back into your hand. At the first tier, every strike inflicts 3 perforation stacks. The second tier lets it hit up to 4 separate targets in a single throw, and the top tier pushes each strike to 150% damage. So it is a crowd clearing answer and a heavy single target hit at the same time, which is rare. One thing to keep in mind with this one, it is the only stone on his table aimed at your melee weapon rather than your gun. So if you have already sorted your sidearm out, this is the one that fills the gap. Now the 2 that are not abilities at all, the first is Thoracium. The description calls it a calcified chunk, prized for its closeness to the Blessed Mether, but it is the line underneath that matters. It is consumed by the Tarforge to improve weaponry. So this is a 4th upgrade material sitting right alongside your Ventrium. It is also the only thing on the table with a price I can actually show you, 5,000 coin each, and he is carrying 2 of them. The other one is the Blackmarrow key, and if you saw my secret room video, you know exactly what that opens. And that is 4 upgrade materials now, if you have been counting. Ventrium and Dorsalite and Laterite and Thoracium all feed the same Tarforge, so there's never a shortage of things to spend your coin on once you know where to look. So there is the whole table in one place for you. And look closely at the numbers sitting next to each one, because those are not prices. That is how many he actually has. Most of these he carries exactly 1 of, so you cannot come back and stock up. He does have 3 Glimpse and 2 Thoracium, and do not skip the Glimpse. The description calls it a ponderous whirl of color and light and lost reveries, but the line underneath is the one that matters. It awakens a shell's true purpose. He is carrying 3 of those, which is the most of anything on the table. The limited stock is the thing to plan around. Work out what you want before you start buying, because you will not get a second run at most of these. So what should you actually spend on? If you only take one thing off this table, make it the Infested Stone. Pulling an entire room onto a single target solves the exact fights that keep killing you, and nothing else you own does that. After that, I would take the Weeping Stone purely because 20 Resolve is cheap enough that you will actually use it. The Thoracium is the sensible boring pick. 5,000 coin is a lot of money, but weapon levels are what carry you through the back half of this game, and whatever you take, equip it and actually use it. These only get better as their bars fill, so the sooner you start fighting with one, the sooner it hits the next tier. And that is the secret vendor sorted, so here's the short version. Get the Gloombound Flame and have Thestis call the night for you. Walk out to the abandoned outpost beacon and cleanse it, then find the collector at his table and clear him out completely. 4 ability stones and a Tarforge material and a Blackmarrow key. None of that exists while the sun is up. I have got plenty more Mortal Shell 2 guides on the way, so subscribe and put your notifications on, and tell me down in the comments which shell you are spending your glimpse on. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. One last tip while you're out there, cleanse every beacon you walk past on the way, because they are worth far more to you once the world has gone dark.